Daniel lived on the far edge of human space, in a small farming colony on the planet Leora. Life there was simple compared to the shining cities of Earth or the great stations orbiting around trade routes. The colony had green fields, quiet nights, and only a few hundred families. Daniel worked as an engineer, fixing machines that helped with farming and energy supply. He liked the peace of the colony. Nothing much ever happened there, and that was how he wanted it. But during the last few weeks, something strange had been happening. Tools had gone missing from his shed. Small food packages disappeared. At first, Daniel thought it was just carelessness. Maybe he misplaced things, or maybe an animal had broken into his storage. But then he noticed footprints, light, almost too careful, in the dirt outside his shed. Someone was sneaking around at night. Daniel's first thought was simple: a thief. Life in colonies was not always safe. Sometimes smugglers, raiders, or desperate wanderers came from other worlds. A thief stealing food was bad enough, but if they were testing the colony for weakness, that could mean danger for everyone. One evening, Daniel decided he would catch whoever was stealing from him. He set up a small alarm system using wires and an old motion sensor he repaired from scrap. He placed it near his shed and sat waiting in his house with the lights off. The night was silent, the sky filled with two moons that glowed faint silver over the colony. Hours passed. Daniel almost gave up, thinking maybe the thief would not come tonight. But then, a soft sound broke the silence. The sensor blinked red. Daniel grabbed his old plasma torch, not a weapon but strong enough to scare someone, and moved silently toward the shed. His heart pounded. He thought about what he would say. Maybe it was just a hungry traveler, but maybe it was something worse. As he got closer, he heard rustling. Someone was inside his shed. Daniel took a deep breath, pushed open the door, and shouted, "Stop right there!" Inside, a small figure froze. At first, in the dim light, Daniel thought it was a child. The figure wore a torn cloak, too big for its thin body. It was reaching for a box of food packets. When the door opened, the figure stumbled back, knocking over a tool rack. The hood slipped off. Daniel froze in shock. It was not a human child. The face that looked back at him had smooth, pale skin with a faint silver glow. Large eyes, brighter than any human eyes, shone in the dark. Her hair was thin and almost translucent, like threads of light. She looked fragile, weak, and scared. Daniel whispered, "You're not human." The figure pressed against the wall, trembling. She held her hands up as if to beg. Her voice was soft, strange, but still understandable. "Please, don't call them. I am not here to harm." Daniel blinked. His first thought returned. A thief. But now it was more complicated. This was not just a thief. It was an alien, and not one he recognized from any common species in the colonies. He lowered the plasma torch slightly. "Who are you? Why are you in my shed?" The girl's voice shook. "Shelter. I need shelter. Please, they hunt me." Daniel frowned. None of this made sense. An alien girl here in such a remote colony. And what did she mean by they? Before he could ask more, her legs gave way. She collapsed to the ground, weak and exhausted. Daniel stood there for a long moment, torn between fear and compassion. He could report this to the colony security. That would be the safe choice. Aliens sneaking into human colonies often brought trouble. But looking at the girl, he felt she was not an enemy. She looked more like a lost traveler, frightened and alone. Finally, Daniel sighed and put away the torch. "All right, I won't call anyone, but you need to explain." The girl tried to stand, but her strength failed. Daniel moved closer, carefully, and offered his hand. She hesitated, then slowly accepted it. Her skin was cool, almost too smooth, unlike human skin. Daniel helped her up and guided her out of the shed. He brought her into his house, sat her in a chair, and gave her water. She drank slowly, as if every sip was precious. When she finished, Daniel asked again, "Who are you?" The girl looked at him, her glowing eyes full of fear and sadness. "My name is Alia. I did not mean to steal. I was only hiding. I had no choice. Daniel crossed his arms. Hiding from who? Her voice lowered, barely a whisper. Hunters. They want me because of what I am. If they find me, they will not stop until I am gone. Daniel's mind filled with questions. Who were these hunters? Why would they chase a girl like her? And why come to a human colony of all places? Alia seemed to sense his doubt. She added, I heard humans are kind. That is why I came, but I did not know if it was true. Daniel leaned back, uncertain how to respond. He was just an engineer, not a hero. He fixed machines and kept farms running. He never expected to face something like this. The night grew quiet again, only the sound of crickets outside the window. Inside, two beings from different worlds sat facing each other, unsure of what would happen next. Daniel thought again of the first moment, how he believed it was just a thief. Now he understood the truth was far stranger. For the first time in his life, he realized his simple colony life was about to change forever. The morning sun rose slowly over the green fields of Leora. Birds sang softly, and the colony woke to another normal day. But inside Daniel's small house, nothing felt normal anymore. Daniel sat at his table, staring at the alien girl, who now rested on the couch. Alia was asleep, her silver glowing skin dim in the daylight. She looked peaceful, almost fragile, as if she might break with the wrong touch. Daniel tried to understand what had happened the night before. He had caught what he thought was a thief only to discover she was an alien seeking shelter. He rubbed his forehead. What am I supposed to do now? Part of him wanted to tell the colony council. They were the leaders, and they made rules to keep everyone safe. If an unknown alien was hiding in the colony, the council would demand answers. But another part of him remembered her words. They hunt me. Her eyes when she said that were full of fear, not lies. Daniel sighed. He was not a man who liked trouble, but he could not ignore her. Alia stirred and slowly opened her bright eyes. She sat up, looking around nervously. When she saw Daniel, she relaxed a little. You are still here, she whispered. Daniel nodded. This is my home. The question is, why are you here? You need to tell me the truth, Alia. What are you running from? Alia lowered her head. For a long time she said nothing. Then she spoke softly, each word heavy. I come from far beyond your colony. My people are not many anymore. We were once free, but now we are hunted. A powerful faction rules the stars near our home. They fear us. They fear what we carry inside. Daniel leaned forward. And what is that? Alia hesitated. Her hands shook slightly as she touched a pendant hidden under her torn cloak. It was small, shaped like a crystal, glowing faintly with silver light. This, she whispered. It is not just a jewel. It is memory, a map left by the ancients. My people guard it, but now I am the last with knowledge of it. That is why they chase me. Daniel stared. He had heard many stories about ancient alien maps and lost technology, but most were just legends. Yet the way she spoke made him believe. So you came to humans, he said slowly. Why? Alia's glowing eyes met his. Because humans are different. In the dark of the galaxy, there are many who seek power, many who destroy. But your kind, there are stories of your compassion. My mother told me, if danger comes, seek the humans. They will not turn you away. Her voice broke at the word mother. Daniel understood then. She was not just hiding. She was carrying her people's last hope, and she was alone. He stood and walked to the window, staring at the quiet colony outside. Farmers were already at work, children playing near the road. If the hunters came here, all of that peace would be shattered. You realize, he said carefully, if the people chasing you find this colony, they will attack. Humans are tough, but we're not ready for war. If I protect you, I put everyone here in danger. Alia's face grew pale. I know. That is why I hid. I did not want anyone to suffer because of me. Silence filled the room. Daniel's heart struggled between logic and feeling. Logic told him to report her, hand her over, keep the colony safe, but his heart told him that if he abandoned her, he would be no better than the hunters chasing her. Finally, Daniel turned back to her. I won't tell the council. Not yet. But you must stay hidden. No one can know you are here. Do you understand? Aelia nodded, her eyes shining with relief. Thank you, Daniel. I will not forget this. For the next few days, Daniel kept her hidden. He gave her food, repaired her torn cloak, and even set up a small bed for her in a corner room. Aelia spent much of her time resting, but slowly she began to open up. She told him small pieces of her life, how her people once lived among stars, building cities of light until the hunters destroyed them. She told him she had traveled across systems, hiding, always afraid, until finally she reached human space. Daniel listened carefully. He noticed that although she was different, there was something deeply human in her hope, her fear, her longing for safety. One evening, as they shared a simple meal, Daniel asked, "Why do the hunters fear you so much? Just because of the map?" Aelia shook her head. Not only that, they fear what humans call spirit. My people cannot fight as they once did. But with the map, with allies, there is hope to resist. The hunters fear hope. And humans, Daniel, they fear you too. They whisper that humans rise again and again even when defeated. They fear your willpower. Daniel laughed softly. Us? We're just farmers here. I fix broken machines. No one fears me. But Aelia smiled faintly. That is why they do. Because even in small colonies, even in quiet places, humans endure. You do not bow. Her words stayed in Daniel's mind long after the meal ended. The next day, while repairing a harvester machine, Daniel noticed something troubling. Strange, ships were flying near the colony's orbit, too far to land but close enough to watch. Colony sensors reported them as unidentified. People whispered about smugglers or traders, but Daniel knew better. His heart tightened. The hunters had found Aelia's trail. That night, Daniel returned home quickly. He found Aelia sitting near the window, staring at the stars. She already knew. They are here, she whispered. Daniel nodded grimly. Yes, they're watching. Maybe they don't know exactly where you are yet, but it's only a matter of time. Aelia turned to him, her eyes full of worry. I should leave. If I stay, they will attack this place. I cannot bring ruin to your people. Daniel shook, his head firmly. If you leave alone, you'll be caught. And if they realize you were here, they'll punish the colony anyway. The only way forward is together. We'll have to find a way to keep you safe and to prepare for when they come. Aelia looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she placed her pendant on the table. The silver light glowed softly in the dark room. This is my burden, she said. But maybe it can be our strength. Daniel stared at the glowing crystal, his mind racing. He didn't know what paths lay ahead, but one thing was clear. His quiet life was over. And in that moment, he made a silent promise. He would protect Aelia, not just because she asked, but because it was the right thing to do. The hunters were coming, and humanity would not bow. The days after the strange ships appeared were heavy with unease. The colony of Leora was still calm on the surface. Farmers worked, children played, and machines hummed in the fields. But a shadow hung in the air. The strange ships stayed, near orbit, never landing, never leaving. The colony council called them scouts. Daniel knew better. Inside his small house, Aelia grew more restless. She often sat near the window, her silver eyes scanning the night sky, waiting. Daniel tried to keep her hidden, but he also knew hiding could not last forever. One night, as they shared a simple meal, Daniel finally spoke. Aelia, they will come down sooner or later. We can't wait for them to choose the time. We need to move before they strike the colony. Elia looked at him with worry. Move? Where? Daniel leaned forward. There are caves in the North Hills, old mining tunnels. Hard to scan from orbit. If we go there, we might stay hidden until we know more. Elia hesitated. If I leave, will the hunters still search the colony? Probably, Daniel admitted. But at least you won't be right in the middle, and maybe I can lead them away. Elia lowered her eyes. She hated the thought of humans suffering because of her, but she also knew Daniel was right. If she stayed in his house, the hunters would find her and strike quickly. Finally, she whispered, Then we must go. They left before dawn, when the colony was still quiet. Daniel packed food, water, and a few tools. Elia wrapped herself in a cloak to hide her glowing skin. Together, they slipped into the fields, heading toward the hills. The journey was not easy. The land beyond the colony was rough and wild, filled with tall grass and scattered stones. Daniel guided her carefully, keeping watch for patrol drones. He had seen one earlier, dark, bird-like machines scanning the ground. By noon, the sun burned hot above them. Elia struggled, her steps slowing. She was not used to long walks in such heat. Daniel noticed and paused near a small stream. Rest here for a while, he said. He gave her water and let her sit in the shade of a rock. As she drank, she looked at him curiously. Why do you help me so much, Daniel? You could have turned me into your counsel. Your life would still be simple. Daniel shrugged. Maybe simple isn't always right. You needed help. I couldn't just throw you away. Humans, we look after those who need it, even if it's not easy. Elia smiled faintly. That is what I hoped was true. They rested for a short while, then continued. But as the hills rose before them, a sharp sound filled the air, like thunder but sharper. Daniel turned quickly. In the distance, 3 black shapes dropped from the sky. Ships, small, fast, hunters. They found us, Daniel said sharply. Run! The chase began. Daniel and Elia dashed through the tall grass, their feet pounding against the earth. The hunter ships flew low, sending out beams of light to scan the ground. Drones shot out, buzzing like angry insects. Daniel grabbed Elia's hand and pulled her toward the hills. This way! Blasts of energy struck the ground nearby, shaking the earth. Soil sprayed into the air and the smell of burning filled their noses. Elia stumbled but kept running. Her cloak tore, revealing her glowing skin. The drones circled. Closer. One shot a beam at them, but Daniel swung his toolpack, smashing it aside. The machine sparked and fell. They reached the edge of the hills, breathless and desperate. The caves were still far, but the rocks gave some cover. Daniel led her between boulders, ducking as blasts struck above them. Elia's face was pale with fear. They will not stop. If I use my power... Daniel cut her off. Not yet. Save it for when we have no choice. Humans fight with more than power. We fight with wit. He quickly searched his pack, pulling out a small energy coil and a wire. His hands worked fast, connecting pieces together. What are you doing? Elia asked. Making a trap, Daniel replied. He planted the device near a rock path and pulled Elia into cover. Moments later, a drone flew low, scanning. It passed over the device, which exploded with a bright flash. The drone fell, shattered. Elia gasped. You turned scraps into a weapon. Daniel gave a quick grin. That's what humans do. But the hunters were not easily fooled. 2 ships landed nearby, their doors sliding open. Tall figures in black armor stepped out, their eyes hidden behind glowing helmets. They moved with precision, holding sleek weapons. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. He had never faced soldiers like these. One of the armored figures spoke, its voice metallic. Surrender the girl. Humans will be spared if you comply. Daniel gritted his teeth. Not a chance. The soldiers raised their weapons. Daniel pushed Elia behind him. Blasts of light tore through the rocks. Daniel and Elia ran deeper into the hills, ducking from cover to cover. The soldiers followed, There, steps steady, their voices calm. Daniel knew they could not run forever. The caves were close, but the hunters were closing in. Aelia stopped suddenly. Her eyes glowed brighter than before. Daniel, I cannot let them harm you. I must act. Daniel shook his head. You said using your power makes you a target. They already know, she said firmly. Now it is the only way. Before Daniel could stop her, Aelia lifted her hands. A soft silver light spread outward, wrapping around the rocks. The air hummed with strange energy. The hunters froze, their weapons shaking. With a cry, Aelia released the light. The ground trembled, stones rolled, and a wave of energy pushed the soldiers back. Their armor sparked and their weapons fell from their hands. The ships nearby shuddered as their engines flickered. Daniel stared in awe. He had never seen such power. Aelia fell to her knees, weak from the effort. Daniel rushed to her side. Come on, we need to move while they're down. He helped her up, and together they ran into the caves. Behind them, the hunters slowly recovered, their voices echoing in anger. Inside the caves, darkness surrounded them. Daniel used a small light to guide the way. The tunnels were deep, twisting into the earth. Here, the hunters' scans would be weaker. They stopped to rest, both breathing hard. Daniel placed his light on a rock and turned to Aelia. You saved us, he said, but you almost collapsed. How much did that take from you? Aelia's voice was faint. Too much. My power is not endless. It is a gift. But it drains me. That is why I hide instead of fight. Daniel nodded. Then we'll need another plan. We can't just rely on your power. If the hunters come into these caves, we'll have to use traps, tools, anything we can. Aelia looked at him with tired eyes. You could still leave me here. Save yourself, I am only a burden. Daniel shook his head firmly. No, you're not a burden. You're someone who needs help. Humans don't abandon those who need them. Aelia's lips trembled, and for the first time, tears shone in her bright eyes. She whispered, Then maybe the stories about humans are true. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll prove it, together. Far above the caves, the hunter soldiers regrouped. Their leader raised a communicator, his metallic voice cold. The target has revealed her power. She is with a human ally. Increase the search. They cannot escape. The hunt was far from over. But deep in the caves, Daniel and Aelia were ready. The chase had begun, and the spirit of humanity was about to be tested. The colony of Leora was quiet at first light, but a sense of tension hung in the air. Daniel knew the calm would not last. From the caves, he had observed the movements of the hunter ships. They were clever, patient, and relentless. Daniel could almost hear them waiting, calculating their next move. Inside the caves, he and Aelia made preparations. The tunnels were narrow, winding, and dark, a perfect place to hide, but also dangerous if discovered. Daniel had scavenged old energy cells, wires, and broken machines from nearby abandoned mining tunnels. He began assembling makeshift traps along the main paths of the caves. Aelia helped when she could, but she still seemed weak from the use of her power in the last encounter. You're pushing yourself too hard, Daniel said. Rest for a while. I'll handle the traps. Aelia shook her head. If I do not help, they may take more time to find us. Every delay matters. Daniel smiled faintly. Humans may be stubborn, but you're giving me competition. She allowed herself a small laugh, her bright eyes lighting up briefly. It was the first real smile he had seen from her since they fled the colony. Meanwhile, the colony council had noticed the unusual activity in orbit. Drones and scouts had reported unidentified ships watching them closely. Word spread quickly. Rumors and fear began to circulate among the colonists. Farmers abandoned work, parents held children close, and the once peaceful settlement began to feel tense. Daniel knew that if the hunters decided to attack, the colony would be in grave danger. And yet he refused to betray Aelia. They will not find peace here if I give her up, Daniel muttered to himself as he examined a trap. If humans are known for anything, it's that we stand for what is right, even when it's hard. Aelia, sitting nearby, listened silently. She realized that Daniel's courage was something more than bravery. It was human spirit. Unlike her own people, who often relied on power alone, Daniel showed her that humans could protect and fight with willpower, intelligence, and unity. The first attack came in the late afternoon. Hunter ships descended slowly, hovering over the colony. The colonists looked up in fear as dark shadows covered the fields. The leaders of the colony tried to communicate with the ships, but there was no reply, only a silent warning. Daniel and Alia knew it was time. They left the caves and approached the edge of the colony, taking hidden paths. Daniel wanted to warn the council, but he also needed the colonists to understand that surrendering Alia was not an option. He ran to the town square, where people had gathered in panic. He called out, "Everyone, listen. She is not a threat. We cannot hand her over." People stared at him, confused and scared. "Who? What are you talking about?" one council member asked. "This girl." Daniel pointed toward Alia, who had stepped forward. Her glowing skin shimmered slightly, casting a soft light. "She has come to us for help, not to harm. If we betray her, the hunters will destroy us anyway. But if we stand together, we can protect both her and our colony." A murmur spread through the crowd. Some nodded, understanding the truth in Daniel's words. Others shook their heads, afraid of the unknown alien and the danger she brought. Alia stepped closer, her voice clear and strong despite her exhaustion. "I am not your enemy. They seek to hurt me and through me, your colony. If you protect me, we can survive together. If you betray me, we all lose." The words hung in the air. Slowly, more people began to nod. The human spirit, the courage, to stand together in the face of danger, was stronger than fear. The hunters' ground troops landed on the outskirts of the colony. Their tall, armored figures moved with precision, scanning for Alia. But Daniel and the colonists had prepared. Makeshift traps and energy nets slowed the advance, giving them a fighting chance. Daniel directed people to block paths, rig barricades, and use farm equipment creatively as defense. Old tractors and harvesters became mobile shields, while energy coils were placed in ambush points. The hunters were strong and disciplined, but humans had something else: ingenuity and willpower. Alia stayed behind Daniel, watching as he coordinated the colony. For the first time, she understood what humans truly were. They were not just survivors, they were warriors of spirit, ready to fight for what they believed was right. When the hunters moved closer, Daniel whispered, "Now, Alia, help us." Alia lifted her hands. A soft silver light spread outward. Rocks trembled and dust rose, forming a barrier that slowed the advancing hunters. Blasts from the enemy ships struck, but the humans' clever traps forced them to retreat, at least temporarily. One of the hunters, armored and tall, raised a hand in command. "They are more resourceful than expected. Adapt. Do not underestimate humans." Daniel's heart pounded, but he felt a surge of pride. Yes, he thought, humans will not bow hours past. The battle continued, with humans and hunters in a tense standoff. The colony, though small, fought with courage. Every person played a role: farmers, engineers, even children who helped set alarms and warnings. Aelia's powers, though limited, created opportunities to protect civilians and block paths for the enemy. Daniel realized that strength was not only in energy or weapons. It was in unity, creativity, and courage, and humans had it in abundance. At one point, a hunter broke through the barricade, moving toward a group of colonists. Daniel ran, grabbed a fallen tool, and used it cleverly to trip the armored figure. Alia followed, lifting him slightly with her energy to prevent serious harm. The hunters hesitated. They had underestimated humans and the alien girl working with them. As the sun set, the hunters realized that victory was not coming easily. The colony had defended itself against superior forces through strategy, courage, and the unexpected help of Alia. Reluctantly, they retreated to their ships, though their threat still lingered. The colony cheered, though many were exhausted and injured. Daniel looked at the people around him. Ordinary humans, working together to protect what they believed in. He looked at Alia, who sat quietly, drained but calm. "You see now," Daniel said softly. "This is what humans are capable of. Not just strength, not just machines, but spirit. We fight for each other." Alia's eyes glowed faintly as she nodded. "I have seen it. I have seen why humans are remembered across the stars. You are more than legends. You are hope." Daniel smiled, feeling the weight of the day. The hunters had been driven back, at least for now. The colony was safe, but the war was not over. He knew more challenges would come, yet he also knew that humanity had something even the hunters could not destroy: unity, courage, and determination. As night fell, Daniel looked up at the stars, thinking of the distant worlds, the hunters, and the battles still ahead. Beside him, Alia rested, no longer a stranger but a part of the colony, part of humanity's story. For the first time, Daniel felt something he had never felt before: hope. The night was quiet, but Daniel knew the peace would not last. The hunter ships were out there, waiting, planning their next strike. The colony had survived the first attack, but the danger was far from over. Alia sat beside him, her glowing eyes dimmed from exhaustion. She had given all her energy in the previous battle, helping protect the colony and its people. Daniel looked around the makeshift command center they had set up in his home. Maps of the surrounding terrain covered the walls, and small devices monitored signals in orbit. Farmers, engineers, and even children had helped set traps and warnings. The colony was ready, in its own way. Not with great armies or advanced weapons, but with courage, cleverness, and unity. The true strength of humans. Alia's voice broke the silence. "Daniel, they will return, stronger this time." He nodded. "Yes, but this time, we will. Be ready. Humans are not easy to defeat. You've seen that," she smiled faintly. "I have, and now I know why humans are remembered across the stars. You never give up, no matter the odds." The next morning, the horizon darkened with the shadows of approaching ships. The hunters had returned, more numerous and organized than before. Their black hulls glimmered in the sunlight, reflecting the fear they carried with them. The colonists gathered, tense but resolute, ready to defend their home. Daniel addressed them, his voice steady. "We fought once and survived. Today we fight again, not just for me, not just for her, but for our homes, our families, and our future. Remember, we are humans. We endure, we adapt, and we never surrender." A cheer rose from the crowd. Ordinary. Farmers, teachers, and children stood together, holding tools, homemade weapons, and shields. Some carried energy coils that Daniel had helped them repair. They were not soldiers, but they were determined, and determination could not be measured in armor or firepower. Alia stood beside Daniel, lifting her hands. Her silver glow shimmered across the field, a beacon of hope. "I will fight with you," she said. "Together, we can stop them." Daniel nodded. "Then let's show them the strength of humans, and the courage of those who stand with us." The battle began with a thunderous roar. Hunter ships fired energy beams, striking the fields and the edges of the colony. Humans scattered, using trenches, barns, and natural cover to avoid direct hits. But Daniel had taught them to use clever traps. Nets made from wires and energy coils tripped drones, while makeshift barricades slowed soldiers' advance. Alia moved among the colonists, her hands glowing. She raised energy shields to protect groups of civilians, and occasionally sent pulses of light to stop advancing enemies. Each time she acted, she weakened herself, but she never stopped. Daniel saw her determination and felt a surge of pride. Humans had their spirit, but with Alia's power, they had a chance to defend the colony fully. Hunters advanced steadily, but every step was met with human ingenuity. They underestimated the farmers and engineers, thinking their tools were weak. But humans had always turned the simplest things into weapons when survival demanded it. In the middle of the chaos, a group of young colonists trapped several hunter drones by luring them into energy nets. Aelia quickly deactivated one drone with a pulse of her power, and the others fell into the trap. Daniel ran across the battlefield coordinating defenses. Move left, use the barn, push the energy coil there. His commands were simple, yet effective. Every colonist understood the plan and acted. Ordinary people united made the hunters pause in confusion. One of the hunters, larger than the rest and heavily armored, broke through a barricade and advanced toward Daniel. He raised his weapon. Daniel's heart raced. Aelia saw the danger and stepped in front of Daniel, raising a shield of silver light. The hunter struck, but the energy pushed him back. Daniel grabbed a nearby tool and hurled it, striking the hunter's armor. Sparks flew. The human ingenuity and alien power combined to create an unexpected advantage. The tide of the battle began to turn. The hunters had expected easy victory, but humans were unpredictable. They fought with heart, with strategy, and with courage. Families and neighbors protected one another, creating barriers and traps on the fly. The smallest human gestures, a thrown rock, a tilted energy coil, a clever diversion, slowed the hunters down. Aelia, though exhausted, continued to protect the colonists. Her glowing hands sent waves of energy toward advancing enemies, not to destroy but to stop. Each wave drained her strength, but the humans' determination inspired her. She realized that together, humans and she could overcome even the most advanced forces. Daniel watched the hunters retreat in confusion. Their leader signaled a withdrawal, clearly frustrated. The colonists had shown strength they did not expect. They were ordinary humans, but humans with spirit, courage, and unity. When the dust settled, the colony was battered but alive. The fields were damaged and some buildings burned, but no lives were lost. Colonists tended to one another, comforting the scared and treating the injured. Daniel walked among them, exhausted but proud. Aelia approached him. You see, humans are not just survivors. You are fighters. You inspire even those from other worlds. Daniel smiled, feeling the truth of her words. You helped, Aelia. You were part of this victory. But it was the humans here who made the difference. They refused to give up, refused to surrender, and refused to betray what was right. Aelia looked around the colony, seeing the small fires, the people helping each other, the hope in their eyes. Yes, and that is why your kind is special. You endure and you protect, even when the odds are against you. Daniel's heart swelled with pride. He realized that the battle was not just about survival, but about proving something greater, that humanity's spirit could inspire even the galaxy. In the following days, the colony rebuilt. Fields were replanted, barns repaired, and homes strengthened. Daniel and Aelia worked side by side, preparing for the possibility of another attack. But there was a new sense of confidence in the colony. Humans had faced danger together and prevailed. Aelia had earned her place among them. She no longer hid in fear but worked openly with the colonists, sharing knowledge and helping plan defenses. In turn, the humans treated her as one of their own, seeing that her heart was as brave as theirs. Daniel reflected on the journey. He remembered the first night when he thought Aelia was a thief. Now, she was not just a stranger or a refugee. She was a symbol of trust, courage, and unity. The humans had proven themselves worthy of that trust. One evening, Daniel and Aelia stood on a hill overlooking the colony. The sun set, painting the sky with red and gold. Children played near repaired fields and farmers tended crops with renewed determination. Aelia turned to Daniel. You have shown me what humans can be. Even when small, even when ordinary, you are strong in ways the hunters cannot understand. You have spirit, courage, and unity. Daniel smiled. We fight not for glory or power. We fight because it is right, because it protects those we care for. That is our legacy. Aelia nodded. And I will carry this with me. Your courage and compassion will be remembered beyond this colony, beyond these stars. Humans are remarkable. Daniel, laughed softly. Maybe we just never give up. That is our gift. The two of them stood in silence, watching the sun sink behind the distant hills. The battle was over, for now, but the lessons remained. Humanity had survived, not because of weapons or strength alone, but because of something deeper. Hope, unity, and the refusal to bow in the face of fear. Aelia had found more than shelter. She had found a home, and she had discovered why humans were remembered, feared, and admired across the galaxy. Daniel had learned, too, that even ordinary people could achieve extraordinary things when they stood together. And so, the colony of Leora thrived once more, a small beacon of humanity's enduring spirit. The hunters might return one day, but the humans and their alien friend were ready. For humans, giving up was never an option. The stars above shone quietly, and the light of hope burned brightly below,